this is episode 2. We are here with Lush One. If you haven't seen part 1, definitely go back and watch that. So before we get back into this, I did not want to talk battle rap at all, but I do just want to say one thing here. Let me turn this other light on. If y'all can see that. Justice for Charlie. You know what I'm saying? Help out in any way that you guys can, whether it's financially or just reaching out, or if you're a lawyer or know a lawyer who's willing to help, he's having a hard time with that. So
support the homie Real Deal.
Definitely. And congrats to him on winning the title. But this is about Lush. And
that's my brother though. Salute Real Deal all day.
Yeah, for real. You two were my very first interviews back in the day.
Oh, it's lit.
Yep. So I wanted to just real quick reiterate something, because it was something that I had written down that you had said before I got to say it, was that just the way how genius it was, how you structured this album and the song placement and everything. I just feel like it was amazing. There's not a lot of albums where you listen to front to back that you feel like it was perfectly placed. Like another example for me would be like T.I. Paperwork. Or Paper Trail, my bad.
Word.
But you know what I mean? So like,
no, I appreciate that. And with the HYAMS album, I really tried to emphasize it because like a song is going to be impactful if it's dope, but it'll hit a lot different if it's framed properly and contextualized. So I feel like the sequencing adds a lot to it. And when this song comes after a song that kind of sets it up, it's like, you know what I mean? It's like an alley-oop, and like, you know what I mean? Everything needs to be in proper place. So that was very intentional, and I'm glad that resonated. A lot of people have been making that comment. And I also just want to say the official release of the album is on February 26th through HUMAG. Sony Orchard got a deal with HUMAG for distribution, which is really dope. But I've done a little pre-release on Bandcamp because that's the best way to support me directly. And everyone that supported it, all the comments has been inner and under and overwhelming. You're not underwhelming, like you're in overwhelming. Like it's been like the response has been incredible. It's everything that I could possibly ask for, and the fact that it's touched people, and so many people have been supporting it. It's already pretty much damn near my best-selling project ever, and it's not even out yet. So it's
wow.
And you're a part of that, bro. I appreciate you and having this conversation. It really, like, I can't tell you, because I didn't do this for nothing, and this makes me, I'm not out here getting rich off of this or anything. You know what I mean? I don't have the same fanfare as a lot of other artists, but the people that do rock with me, like, I have a super cult following, diehard fan base. Considered family, and you pushing the line, beyond anyone that drops the rooster emojis, but like people that are taking the extra step to financially support and go out of their way to talk about it like you are. I can't tell you how much that means to me.
Hey man, I'm here to support, and I support what I love, and if it wasn't what it is, I would tell you, and that, and so either way I would tell you. But yeah, man, it was something that
you don't do this for every album, so
No, I don't. I've never interviewed somebody for an album. So this is my first, because I felt like it was so important for people to hear this album, because it is that good, and it's just, people need to hear it. That's all I can say is you need to hear it. It's so let's there was another track on the so again, you can get that on Bandcamp. Definitely go support that, because like I said, just First Day Bike and Athena alone is worth the money. But a song I wanted to talk about is Letter to Caddy. My pops just passed, and and so that song, meant a lot to me. Hit home for me. But how did it feel writing that song? And did it take you? Because I tried, like, I don't know, it's different, but how was it for you writing that song?
Well, a lot of people know how close Cadillac and I were as one of my best
Yes.
homies ever. Is literally like a brother to me. Like, and
Yes.
I don't say that lightly. We've known each other for years, predating battle rap. We grew up in the same area and everything on the west side of LA. But it was, a lot of people have been wanting me to do that, but I just it felt kind of contrived and forced, and it just was something that I knew was like a lofty undertaking, and it had been a few years since he had passed, and I heard that beat, you know what I mean, with the Smith and Wesson sample in it, and I was like, ooh, this might be the one right here, and it just inspired me, and it was crazy because shortly before that, I moved in with my fiance to a new apartment building, which happened to be right down the block from the mausoleum that his mausoleum where he's buried, you know what I mean, where his
Yeah.
ashes are and everything. So I was
Wow.
like, yeah, it's literally like walking distance from where I moved. So that's why I even have the line out, I moved a few blocks from your mausoleum. Like that's literally what happened. So it kind of just felt right. I felt compelled by his spirit, and it was just like I wanted to. It wasn't more than a tribute song. It was literally a letter to Caddy. It was like, this is like, if I was going to have a conversation with him, this is the type of shit that I would talk to him about if he was still here. And
Yeah.
that's what I did. And I wrote it. And I went to his mausoleum, and you know what I mean? Like, played the song for him, and you know what I mean, I broke down crying. I was like knelt down on my knees playing it for him, and it was crazy because like the place where his mausoleum is a famous, it's like the biggest Catholic church and cathedral in Los Angeles. So there was like a tour group of a bunch of kids that happened to be walking by at that exact minute when I'm playing. They're like behind me watching it as I'm doing it. And it was super emotional and deep. Part of me wanted to be like, man, what are y'all
Yeah.
doing here? Go away. Can't you see someone grieving? But I felt like it
Yeah.
was really timely. And I felt like his spirit spoke to me and told me there was something I had in there, a certain bar that he was like, don't say that. So I wound up taking it out. If you listen close, like, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you could hear something edited out. Like I said a name, which I wound up taking out because he didn't want it in there. I felt very strongly that his spirit was speaking to me.
I
And
thought there was a I thought there was an edit cut
yeah,
in there, but I wasn't sure. Like, I really
yeah,
wasn't sure. Wow, that's crazy.
yeah, it was heavy. And yeah, it was, and pretty much my perspectives slightly changed since then, but it's still a lot of the things that I'd want to say to him. And then, of course, I put a sample of him talking at the very end. So it was, yeah, it was a beautiful thing, and I'm grateful to have the chance to express to him. And I know that, he to be a living testament of someone that made it out of the same struggle he went through and was fighting for his entire life for several years. It's powerful.
Yeah,
And I'd
yeah,
like to think
very
he'd be very
powerful.
proud of the song and the project and the whole direction of my music that I wound up going on. It was a departure from the path I was headed, and I kind of brought it back to the essence, which I know that my favorite stuff, he always liked my music for Dope Runs and Gold Bricks in the Wall. Like that's
Me too. Me
and
too.
a lot of like my diehard supporters feel the same way, and so I know he would love what I'm doing right now, and I can't really ask for
Yeah,
anything more.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Because that's what I said that to you the other day. That, music for Dope Runs and, Gold Bricks. Oh my God. That was like, when I remember when that dropped. Like, that was big. That was huge, because that was one of the first, like, battle rap albums I had heard. You know what I mean?
Word.
I hadn't heard music for Dope Runs until after that.
And it's crazy because I thought that I had been through so much at that point. You know, my life's had a lot of ebbs and flows of dysfunction, and I thought that was already done with everything at that point in 2011, and 2008 was Music for Dope Runs. But so much, like I hadn't even begun the insanity. Like everything was gonna just be magnified, and I obviously I know that I've gotten a lot stylistically and vocally more advanced since then as well. So this is kind of like you could play those three albums in a row and they'll make sense in context, but I feel like there's a clear stylistic evolution with HYAMS, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. That's what it felt like. It just felt like old Lush. Like it was just, it's just, you got to buy it. You got to buy it. You have to.
Especially in a day and age when people aren't buying music, the fact that people, you don't have to because you could get it for free regardless. The fact that people are doing it, that's so impactful. And, you know, the eventual goal is to have this on vinyl and released through different physical mediums. So that's, you know, a lot of this financial support is going to hopefully go towards that. So,
Yeah, that's dope. That's really dope. Yeah. So you follow Letter to Caddy with Narcan.
yep. With my boy Ricky Mars, yep.
Yeah. Who actually I thought who's fire, but I thought sounded a little not like the way he raps, but his voice reminded me of Real Deal.
Okay.
But yeah, no, he's dope. He's very dope.
He's a good friend of Caddy's too, and also has had severe addiction issues and made it out the mud. And you know, him, Caddy, and I were all really close, and him and I remain very close. And it was, you know, that song, like I don't. You probably know what Narcan is. That's like something that if you're overdosing, you get, you know, take a shot of that, wake your ass back to life. And so that's kind of like, but we use it as like a metaphor for like, you know, like this is a second shot at life type shit. And my verse was like reminiscing on crazy, just the people that have in my life that were close to me that are no longer here, some that I'm not close with anymore, and others that passed on, and it's kind of like a tribute to them. And like, you know, that's why I end the verse with the addict, the addict shooting up won't die in vain, because Lush sings for you. You know what I'm saying? Because this is a I'm keeping these people alive, and it's not just, I'm not only referring to drug addicts who passed away. I'm referring to people that died before their time. People like, you know, Young B, who was murdered in cold blood. You know, Tall T, who was murdered in cold blood.
Rest in peace, both of them.
My close friend Melanie's mother, who passed away, not at all like through any, just had a tragic accident which wound up killing her. And my good friend Mia and Sophia, their father, who wound up having a tragic accident, and he died way before his time. So I had to shout them out. Mama Stavis, Papa Lou, like all these people are people that were really impacted my life, and I consider family and loved ones, and their passing affected me to such a degree. So I really wanted to include them and pay tribute to their life, and let everybody know that these people still exist through these memories, through our, you know, the general consensus of the shared memories of all the people that knew them, and anyone that lost somebody, like you talked about your father, rest in peace to your father, like, you know. And this is a tribute to everybody that's not here anymore. And that was the point of the Narcan record. And, you know, it was I know it was kind of like a more sullen moment. It's two like quieter, more sullen tracks in a row, but I felt like they go together perfectly. And then, you know, had to turn it up after that, but I wanted that moment. And it was a risk doing it, because it definitely is a shift in the momentum, but that's like, if you're watching it like it's a movie, like it's audio cinema, this is like a pivotal part of the story that needs to be referenced.
Yeah, and for people who don't understand what I mean when I say song placement, like he just explained it. Like those two songs should have definitely been back to back, and they were positioned perfectly.
Thank you.
So like you if you had put them closer to the beginning or as like the last two tracks, I don't think it would have been as, like I feel like it's just perfect the way it is. But yeah, so I just want to say something real quick. So for anyone watching, the way that you are breaking down these songs, if you're not already going to buy the album right now, I don't know what's going to make you, because the way you're breaking down these songs is incredible. And it's like, I've already listened to the album so many times, but to hear you give the backstories and the insight into them is very, very dope. That's why I wanted to do this. Because
I'm
I
glad, man.
knew.
Yeah, there's a whole every single record, like, you know what I mean? Like, we could talk, like, each record could be an interview in and of itself, because there's so many, like, there's so much tapestry, there's so many layers that
Yeah,
build, like, and stories like that from my life that were, each song could have been an album in and of itself, basically, is the way I look at
that's
it.
true. That's why I picked like a certain amount to make sure that I referenced, because like to get the rest of it, people are gonna have to buy the album. But
Word.
but also, because like you said, I could have literally done an interview on each song. That's
Right.
how amazing it is. And I'm probably gonna do some type of review on each song.
Awesome.
Um, but yeah, so another song I wanted to mention is Fire in My Bloodline, which is actually in Spanish. I had to look up what it meant in English.
Yeah, fuego en mi sangre.
I figured it when you said Fire in My Bloodline, because I knew what fuego meant, so I
Yeah.
assumed that was it. But
Probably from a
so
different, probably from Fuego, you feel me? But like, yeah, no, I was talking about, yeah, just having fire in my blood, just like my whole history is so rich from in my DNA code. It's deeply embedded. So that's what I was referencing in that.
yeah, that's a really, really dope song, and the flow and the way you do the chorus is really, really dope. I
Well,
enjoy that song a lot.
like,
And
I don't know if you realize that the sample in the beginning is actually my grandmother talking about my grandpa, and my grandpa died in 1992, something like that, and my grandmother passed away in like 2008. But my
damn, rest in peace.
rest in paradise. But for their 50th wedding anniversary, my dad shot a little video of them, and I happened to randomly find it on the internet that they had posted up. I guess my brother had posted up online, so I found that, took the sample of my grandma talking about my grandpa at the beginning of it, meeting him, and then at the end I took a sample of my dad from one of his interviews. So it's all
That's
like, it's
dope.
about my family, it's about my upbringing, like, and just, I talk about, like, a lot of the lyrics I reference are like things that my dad told me, which I resented at the time, like my ambition being like a fire hose that I needed to control, or else it would wind up, which is exactly the way my addiction manifested itself.
But
And
yeah, very true.
it's crazy. So that was an emotional one for me. I was gonna end it on that note, but then I had to put one more just to kind of take it home on like a high note. But yeah,
I
a lot of people
I
were.
thought that was a good decision. I
Mhm.
thought that was a good decision to end it with Mad Deep. Yeah.
And like Mad Deep is, if you listen to Mad Deep, it's like a little bit more lighter than the rest of the album. It's a little bit, I mean, it's the last song I recorded. It's one of the more recent records that I've recorded, period. And it was, like, it doesn't have the same aesthetic. It still has like a classic hip hop vibe, but it's more like, if the rest of the album's more in tune with like a Mobb Deep album, this is more like a Tribe Called Quest type sounding, if that makes sense. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but I like,
Tried.
but I still, even though like, and there's no cuss words, you feel me? No Will Smith, but like, so
Yeah. Yeah.
it actually has gotten some radio play and it's done crazy. And I feel like it represents the album, but it's like, that's the poppiest track I was going to make for the record. Like, and it turned out great. My boy Alexander Brown killed the beat. DJ Rocky Styles killed the little cuts, made it really conversational. And I absolutely love that record. If I was gonna show anyone who hasn't heard the album, I start with that one. You know what I mean? Like that's the one I'll show people first. But it's kind of like the it's like the if the whole album's in high school, that song's like a college graduate that's back home visiting the rest of the kids in high school. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah, that's definitely probably the first song I would tell people to listen to, I think.
And it summarizes the album, but it has like a lot of the album, the records, they kind of have like a message of confusion, anxiety, and like uncertainty. And that one's like, hey, I made it out. I'm cool now. Yeah, I went through all this. I still have some hard edge lyricism in it. You know what I mean? Stacking punches the whole time. And it's like referencing some dark things, but in like in a more palatable way. Like, you listen to Bob Marley talking about I Shot the Sheriff. You don't realize it's the same song as Ice-T Body Count making Cop Killer, but the way he did it, since it sounds so happy, you don't think about it like that. That's something that can be played at you know what I mean? It could be played anywhere on any radio station or in any circumstance, and no one's going to think twice. But he's talking about killing a cop. I shot the sheriff. So like I kind of disguised it. I used like the more upbeat melody to disguise still dark topics, but I did it in a way that kind of has a hopeful undertone. That was the intention.
Yeah, you did. You executed that perfectly. Yeah, for sure. Now you had mentioned so when we talked about Fire in My Bloodline, so that brings me to Amends to My Mom and Dad. Amazing song.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Shout out to my boy SM Nonfiero on the beat. You feel me? Dope ass battle rapper. People don't know he's an incredible musician.
Very, very, very dope beat. Very dope.
He shot that to me, and it's crazy because amends is something that you learn through the 12 steps when you get sober. But I actually made that song when it was almost like a cry for help. Like, this is something I know, like in the depths of my soul, even though I didn't think I was like, okay, maybe if I like, and it was like, this is, hey, mom and dad, this is like some of the things you might not even be aware that I've gone through. And some of the things that you may be aware, but I'm going to contextualize them and frame them in a way for you. So you really get a in-depth look at the feelings that I can never properly articulate, and at the end, like, let you know, like, I'm sorry that I put you through all this crazy shit, and this is not the boy you raised that turned into this man, like, you know what I mean, like, and that's what that record was about. So I had to, it was there's layers on that one, and it was I, with this whole album, and definitely some of the things I said on that track in particular are, I feel like the benchmark of a lot of amazing art is people articulating things that they're embarrassed by and have a hard time saying, but but make it sound still appealing and cool to bob your head to. And that I feel like made that song extra relatable. I don't want to talk about how when I first started trying to sell dope when I was a kid, I got ripped off, and you know what I mean? Like being fucking sent to psych wards and shit like that. I'm not trying to glamorize any of that. It's like it's difficult for it tastes bad on my tongue when I say it, but it wound up being very cathartic.
That I could tell that was probably not an easy song to write. That's definitely dope. I mean, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that's one of them ones that a lot of people are going to be able to relate to.
I've got a lot of comments about that one so far, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely see. So Marv One produced a beat on a track called "For and a Baby." Yo, I just can't say enough how fire each song is. Like, it's just like, people are probably gonna think I'm really just fronting, but it's not. It's
No, the passion seems genuine, and yeah, Foreign and Baby is my favorite joint on the album. Damn near, like I love that record. I had actually released it as a single just on streaming services last year, and it's doing really well. And had a video for it. You can peep the video, and I love that record because it was, it's it's all real as hell. It's something I went through between I've been dealing dope since my teenage years, but between 2015 and 16, like shit got really crazy for me, and I was deep in the game, and that kind of details that entire story, and how, like, like I say, like the same thing, because I was in a bad financial situation. I had all my eggs put in the battle rap basket, was doing really well working for this company in Beverly Hills, Film On, throwing the Ether event. And then all that wound up, ended up due to several different factors, including my own. I need to take accountability. My own dysfunction at the time led to me being severely in debt, and I was already living this expensive lifestyle and trying to maintain. So I hopped back in the dope game at that point. And like I said, it's crazy. The same thing that ruined my life saved me, and that's exactly what it was, because it wound up leading me down. And even though I started doing really well, like I was like insane at that time of my life. Like I got fronted Four and a Baby, which is like the bare minimum for making a big impact in the dope game. That's 4.5 zips of coke, and I'm walking around serving dope all day, high on pills because I'm so paranoid, and doing so much of the blow as well, and then selling other drugs as well. So I'm like completely just paranoid, walking around with the strap on me, and like was a far shell of the human being that anyone who knows me and loves me would ever think that I would become. And you know what I mean?
right.
Like, wound up doing a lot of other things, robbing people, doing things that are really outside my character, and was just strictly driven by my own carnal desires and the paper. So it wound up taking me to a really dark place. And I'm lucky that I made it out. And the ramifications of that, me having hits on my life, me having gangs wanting to kill me, like my parents' crib getting shot up, my being under investigation for serious crimes by the LAPD, that I wouldn't be having this conversation with you if I wound up getting wrapped up for all that shit. You know what I mean? Like, so it was really, really really dark time in my life, and I feel like that beat, as soon as I heard it, I was like, this perfectly encapsulates the energy of what I want to convey. And the song basically wrote itself, and I was still fucked up at the time when I made it. So, it's a fucked up perspective on a fucked up situation. And it's just everything. And I love the way, like that, like as an MC, the fact that I was able to do that, but still incorporate so much, tell that story while still incorporating so much wordplay and bar after bar of, punches and shit. It just, like, I mean, I don't get impressed by myself like that, but I do love that record. And
it really is that good. That was crazy. This interview is amazing. So that was during the Film On time. That's
what I was talking about. Yeah, I was like right on the tail end, right when I lost that job.
Because I remember
that's when it took place.
Yeah. So for all the new fans who don't know, like, I remember that event, and I remember there were battlers that hadn't gotten paid, and like all that shit. And Alky David was saying he was gonna sue, and like that was a whole big mess. We won't get into all that, but there's plenty of interviews out there that do talk about that. So if anyone's interested in that, go look it up. We're here for the album. But
so on the tail end of that, I wound up getting deep in the dope game again, and that's what that song was all about, talking about that period of time right there.
That's so crazy, man. That's so crazy. Because that was like a moment in battle rap that was like where like we all kind of thought that things were gonna take off,
Exactly.
And then but we all make mistakes, and it wasn't all your fault. Alky David was not meant to be a part of battle rap. I don't think.
100%. At the end of the day, though, like there's a lot of people that make a lot of mistakes, and I could look at anything in my life and point fingers. But then would I really be growing as a man if I'm not taking accountability for my part? I can't control what anyone else has done. You know what I mean? And I can't be held accountable for that. But I can only be accountable for myself and what I've done to allow that situation to even occur to begin with. So I have to like all I can do is just hold up the mirror at that point and not do a line off of it.
Yo, salute to you for that, bro. That was yo, that's dope. So yeah, because like I don't know the details, like you know the details, you obviously. So
Well, it's
that
easy to,
yo,
it's like I said, it's easier to hold up a mirror, put a line of blow on it, and do a line. And by the time I'm finished snorting, I can blame everybody else in the world and rattle off at the mouth for my own problems. But it's still me that chose to make those decisions. So I have to
that's
take
that.
accountability. That's what it's all about. And that whole situation I was in the aftermath, I didn't have to choose to start selling dope again and get deep in the game and allow my life to unravel even more and more and more. I can only blame myself for that. So, and it's crazy because recording that song several years later after that whole situation ended, like it was kind of like things that I was really emotionally scarred by from all that, like the hit on my life, like my parents' crib getting shot up,
You
like
can tell in the
like
song.
getting and not just that, there's all these different records where I reference these things. Like it was so cathartic speaking on it. It like took the power away, being vulnerable and being raw and butt naked and honest about all these things that happened to me. Like, oh, okay, getting gaffeled up on my crimey and beat up and like put on camera. This is all shit that I'm and making it sound cool as where other people will sing along with it. Like it's a trip, dude.
Yeah,
That I even I don't know too many artists. I encourage artists to be that raw and allow because for me it was like really transformative experience.
yeah. You were very open in this on this album. You opened up pause, but you really like opened yourself up to the people and like let your guard down and just kind of like just let everything out there and that's what's beautiful about the album, like that's one of the many things like that. um but yeah, man, that's wild. So again, go cop the album. Even before its official release, go to Bandcamp, cop that shit,
Yes,
and
sir.
support. Um, so before I go into the next song, did you want to expand on any of that, as far as that film on period or anything like that?
I think that is pretty self-explanatory at that point. And
Yeah.
if people, if there's more that people want to learn, they could. I mean, if there's anything you want to know, feel free to ask. But
No, I pretty much know everything, and I think everything is out there if people wanted to find it. You know what I mean? I think this is more focused on the album, and you gave a great description of the song, and yeah, I think that's good. And to be honest, like Foreign a Baby is the perfect, again, Marv One made the beat. It's the perfect example of the every song, the beat seems like it was made for, what you
yeah,
wrote. it
yeah,
it was
it's
just like,
crazy how much it fit.
yeah, it wow.
Because like vocally I really tried to go inside the beat and become another instrument, like which boom bap production like that allows you to do, you know what I mean? Like you don't need to, like a lot of more West Coast sounding beats, which I love because I'm from out there, like you want to just ride the groove and just be funky with it. But these are just like ones where you just really like you could be like Miles Davis and just like, you know what I mean? Like really let your soul speak through the whole thing. That was what I tried to do.
Yeah. Yeah. um, So now the way you opened the album, right? One cold jiggy day, right? That was I feel the best song to open the album with. It's electric. It's, you know, it gets your blood flowing. It's, you know what I mean. And the lyricism in it is just every song. Honestly, every song is like, even the ones with that are conceptualized and really have a point to it. There's so many layered bars, and it's amazing how you were able to do that and still be able to say everything that you wanted to say.
Yeah, like with that one, I was at the time I was trying to flex hella hard. I'd be like buying a bunch of jewelry and clothes I couldn't afford, and it didn't even matter because I was like, I'm selling dope. I'm like, this is how I'm supposed to live. This is how I'm supposed to look. This is how I'm supposed to be. So like, and all this crazy shit would happen to me. Motherfuckers wouldn't realize I might be wearing some fly shit, but I hadn't even showered in 3 days or brushed my teeth. Like, I'm grimy and I'm down and out, and I got, you feel me, motherfuckers trying to kill me right now that I owe money to. But even on my worst day, I'm still fly. That's kind of like, I'm jiggy on my worst day. You feel me?
Yeah.
That song is basically about a whole situation of me winding up fucking over my plug and gaffling him and not paying him for the work and running off. And that's what that, like, so that's how it all started. You feel me? And that's kind of like, I felt like there's no other, like you said, to me, there's no other record which could have started. It's like a great beginning to the story, and it really sets the vibe. You feel me? Like,
it is
like the first bar, and I riff off the rhyme scheme for the whole verse. I'm all, hard to trust myself, damn sure don't trust a bitch. Like, that's exactly like, in a nutshell, what my mentality was. I couldn't even trust myself, much less somebody else, much less like, a female to confide in, or I didn't trust anybody. I couldn't, like, much less I couldn't even trust myself to make it home. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know, and I didn't know, and I didn't care if I would make it home at that point. And that's what it was.
Yeah. I definitely, especially the more I thought it at the beginning, but especially the more I listen to the album, I feel more and more yet that there is no other song that could have opened the album. So that's crazy that you think that too. So what made you want to write Death Row with respect for Biggie?
So that one's low key a sequel to Ever West 310. That's like my real West LA song.
Go look that song up. If you have not heard that shit, go find that shit. It is dope as fuck. Watch the video.
That's, a lot of people always said that's their favorite song of mine. I feel like it's timeless, and even like, especially like, people love that song all over and really gave them a taste of West LA. People have a lot of experience of Los Angeles as a whole expressed through hip hop, but I feel like my side of town where I grew up has been kind of neglected within the context of rap songs. So that's why I made the original Ever West 310. And I wanted to make another song in that vein without it being the exact same thing. So Death Row with respect for Biggie, it's like, this is the West Coast. This is Death Row. But like, over there in the West Side, we always really loved hip hop, and like, a lot of us grew up listening to New York hip hop as much as we did the West Coast shit. So Death Row with respect for Biggie, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that kind of personified the mentality a lot of us had, the youth of West LA growing up in those sections: Palms, Mar Vista, Culver City, West LA, Santa Monica, Venice, you know what I mean? That whole side of town, which I come from. That's the, and it was all about tag banging and graffiti, which turned into turf wars. And then all of us kind of grew up to be dope dealers. And that's like the whole story of where I come from and where I grew up. And like, so I really broke down, just like on Everwest, like and then obviously the effects of gentrification and, big money real estate kind of taking over, because it's a nice side of town. And like, a lot of the people that grew up running around in them apartments, and then the not as well-to-do sections of this wealthier side of town getting kind of pushed out. And like, our stories damn near being erased. So I kind of wanted to express that and put my personal twist of what it felt like, and my exact experiences growing up and what it was like with my parents and how it related to them, and having two older brothers which grew up in the same area when it was a lot different. My brothers were born in the late 60s and grew up in the 70s in West LA, which changed a lot in the 80s when coke came around. And I mean, coke turned to
Yeah.
crack, and then all the gangs were in full force, and and obviously the LA riots and the earthquakes and all the things that I went through in my upbringing, which they didn't, and the differences in my parents being kind of older and not being equipped to raise a son through all that, and kind of like the block took me over, and that's a lot of what I was expressing in that record. And it has it's a more upbeat track on the album, but it's also like very nostalgic, because like that's the type of music that we listen to on the West Side. So it's all like a real tribute. And then I had samples from a documentary called West Los, which is my side of town's West Los, which is the a documentary about gentrification in the West and how it affected the car clubs and lowrider culture of the Chicanos in West LA. And that's,
Okay.
those are the folks that I would be around and grew up and kind of raised me in my whole style. So that's a part of my story as well. So I figured I would pay homage to them and have them be a part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like that's funny that you said that, because like you can tell by the cars on like the cover for Music for Dope Run or in that video,
Right.
you know. But yeah, check that song out for sure. But yeah,
Oldies
Death
rule
Row.
forever, Holmes.
Yes, sir. But Death Row with Respect for Biggie is an amazing song, and that's
Thank
dope
you.
to hear that's connected to Forever West, because that song, man, when
Did you
that
make that
video dropped.
connection? Did you ever make that connection in your head, or not even?
No,
Okay, that's
I
dope.
didn't
Yeah.
make that connection. I wish I had, but but yo, I when Forever West came out, me and my boy, like that, when that video dropped.
Speaking of drops,
Yeah, I dropped. Yeah, speaking of drop, yeah. So when that dropped, me and my boy were so excited, because we were young at the time, well, semi young, but it was early on in battle rap, and that, yeah, man. If you haven't heard that shit, go check it out.
and it's what's crazy is like as much as people rock with that song, and it created a window to my life and my side of things, my side of town growing up. The people that are from West LA, like that's most of my homies, and people that are just from the West Side, like gang members, all different kinds of people, like love that record. So that was it's really anthemic for a lot of like people that are doing life in prison will hit me up and comment on the video, and like there's different essays banging on each other in the comments of the video. Like there's so that song really has a whole life of its own that people aren't even aware of within the battle rap subculture and stuff, and even hip hop world. Like it has a life beyond that. So I wanted to kind of reference that, and I don't know if this record it's not quite the same, but it alludes to it, and I look at it as the closest thing to a sequel to that record that I've made.
That's dope. That's really dope to hear. Um, yeah, I like that track a lot. And again, song placement. Like, hold on, my shit's all fucked up. Yeah, song placement. It's just the feel of the beat and everything. It's just like when each song goes into the next, the way it weaves in and out is amazing. And from PP7, which we didn't even talk about, going into Death Row with Respect for Biggie, that it was a great transition there too. But a song I really wanted to talk about was Professor X.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like the lyricism in that song, man, like some of the shit you say in that song, is insane. This is why I wanted to write down some quotes, but there were just too many. But yeah, and it, I don't know, that track is just amazing, and it has a great the beat is the beat's amazing, but the beat and the flow and just the feel of the song is very different
Word.
from the rest of the album, and but it still fits in there so perfectly. But what was the thoughts behind that song?
So my boy Body Bag Ben, who produced and did the cuts on that, incredible, just like chemist with the beats. You know what I mean? He's gnarly, and
So
I love, like, I fell in love with the beat. He shot that to me, and I was just so honored to have it and have a producer of his caliber, because he's doing such big things. So to be able to work with him on that, I was like, oh, this is a no brainer. And it's what I was talking about is way before I was even dealing with the coke like that. I used to be like a huge dealer of ecstasy, and moved. Not only have I taken a grip of it, hundred thousands of fills of X.
right.
But I used to sell it, so I wanted to, which I've referenced in music several times, countless times over the years. But I felt like this album needed it because it is a huge part of my story. So I broke down what it was like for me selling ecstasy. And I was like Professor X. So I just used the whole X-Men concept.
Yep.
Professor X. I took the Pride of the X-Men, which is an obscure graphic novel, turned into a one-off episode of X-Men, which came out before the X-Men cartoon that most of us know from the 90s was
Yeah.
released. So I
Yeah.
used that as my template, and just talked about my experiences dealing X. And obviously, like, I brought it back to the dysfunction and mentioned my own addiction, and
Yeah.
like, kind
Yes.
of almost like slight political commentary on what it was like, and how we're misled by the media and politicians telling us, like, yo, this is like, just say no, it's going to be fine. Nancy Reagan said it, told us to just say no. And like, and it's that simple, when addiction and peer pressure and the subculture of drugs runs so much deeper, and the temptation runs rampant throughout our adolescence. And me being someone that fell victim to it, kind of wanted to chronicle that in a creative way. And that's what Professor X was. That's why had the Drug Dealers Anonymous cut that my boy
Yeah.
Ben laid down, because that's really what it was like. You know what I mean? Like, this is me chronicling what it was like serving X. And that was, like I said, a huge part of my life, a huge part of my story, something that needed to be told. And just the beat is an absolute monster of a banger, and I felt like it needed to be on there.
Yeah. Yeah. And you did an excellent job. And again, this is one of those.
Excellent.
Yeah. This is one excellent. This is one of those ones that where like I was saying, where the writing is so good, and you, and layered, and still able to say exactly what you're trying to say. um yeah, man, that track is very, very good. They're all very good, but they're all the reason that this album is so special is because each track is very unique in its own way, and none of them are similar to each other. And not, I'm not talking like lyrics wise, so obviously some, there's similar talk,
Right.
in certain songs, but I'm talking like as far as like the sound or the feel or whatever. It's just every song has its own special unique thing to it, and like you said, each song is like a movie, and when you get done listening to each song, like, I just kept thinking like, oh wow, that's probably the best song on the album, and then the next song would come on, and then I'm like, oh shit, that's probably the best song. Like, that's how
That's dope. I
really
love
how
it.
it was. Yeah, that's really how it was. So um but yeah, like I said before, Last Day Bike and Athena are my two favorites. But So yeah, man. There's a few other tracks. We got a few minutes left. Is there any one specific song you wanted to go into out of I Ain't Been the Same Since, PP7, You See What the Fuck Going On, It's the Deal? Any of those you want to go into or talk about?
I mean, I feel like they're all dope in their own way, and they all kind of keep the narrative going of the story. And like, I feel like I Ain't Been the Same Since, really, it's early on the album, it sets it off. This is like, okay, like this is me kind of going further in depth in what happened after One Cold Jiggy Day, you know what I mean? Like, so I kind of went with that. PP7's kind of in conjunction with Death Row with Respect for Biggie, and me talking about my past and how that kind of defined the man that I became years later. I'm talking about, you know, being in juvie and all kinds of crazy shit. Deal, I feel like, is a climax. That's like the triumphant moment right before like the final songs, which like, because all the trajectory of any story is conflict, climax, resolution. You know what I mean? And the resolution kind of comes together in the last few records. But I feel like that, like, and Athena are the climax, and that's like, you know, me like just really going hard and trying to get up out the mud. And You See What the Fuck Going On? Like, I feel like that's a slept on track on the album, which is actually one of my favorites. Is one of the ones I listen to the most. It's kind
It's
of
one of mine too.
okay,
Yeah,
that's dope. I'm glad. I'm
Yeah.
glad. Like it's just like it's me just really kind of breaking down. It's like kind of like a summary of the entire album and going more in depth on each track, but kind of all at once. You feel me? Like I talk about my upbringing. I talk about like me being a dope dealer currently. I talk about the dysfunction. I talk about where I'm at right now, but all kind of at once. Like, you see what the fuck going on. And I got my brother Smokey on the intro. Like I love that record. And just like
I do too.
The beat is really cinematic. It's crazy because there's so many layers and so many different vocal clips and samples I put out throughout the whole album. And there's one that I wanted to get on there, but during the mixing process, it got erased of a whistle. And it drove me crazy because I was like, oh, but then the tapestry is already so deep. No one would notice the difference. But to me, like I damn near want to release on SoundCloud the unmastered version with the whistle on it just so it exists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
yeah, definitely. Like now I definitely want to say that the reason that I didn't go in depth with every song is not because they're not dope. Like that's the thing, is some of the ones that I didn't ask about are some of my favorites. It's just I asked about the ones that I felt would have the most interesting or
topical conversation. No, I feel you. Yeah,
you know,
the backstory. No, and you're right, because a lot of what I express already can be expressed about that record. I just took it deeper and like started talking about like really breaking down the nuances of like the West Side. You feel me? Like nature and man's assorted contraptions, like little, like talking about it in a way that, and referencing it in a whole context that was delving deeper into what I previously had already kind of alluded to on other records. You know what I mean? But they kind of feel like that and Deal kind of bring everything together. Those are the songs that encompass the entire album. You know what I mean? So they're very important to the whole trajectory of things. Like,
because and Deal is like, yo, that is probably in my top 5 favorite tracks on the album. So like that, yo, okay, so do you think this is your best work?
Thus far, yeah, it's a magnum opus. I can't front. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't like this record, you probably won't like too much of my music. You might like some of the more like commercial jiggier sounding shit if that's more your flavor. But I feel like this is like, you know, if you're a fan of that authentic, classic, grimy hip hop music, you gonna fuck with this project. And it's definitely
Yeah,
the most authentic to myself. In a nutshell, expresses everything I wanted to say. Like, you know, but at the end of the day, it's not for me to say, it's for y'all to determine. Like I'm not trying to be gassed on it. I knew it was special, and the fact that it's resonating with people like you and are having like such an emotional attachment to it, like that's a testament to what I wanted to express. But its overall greatness and classic status is to be determined by the people.
right. I'm the people, and I say fucking A plus. Like it really it came at a time for me where I'm going through something very tough in my life, and well, a couple of things very tough in my life, as you know,
Right.
and 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 that you for me, this album kind of dropped at the perfect time. And when I put it on for that first time, it was like I'm like it's one of those albums that when you listen to for the first time, you never forget the first time you listen to that album. That's how that is for me with this album. um I'm definitely going to remember the first time I listened to this album 20 years from now.
It's
So
amazing, bro. It's a touching tribute, and I can't extend enough gratitude to you for taking the time to chop it up about it, and the fact that it affects you like this. And you know, you say you want to delve more into it and talk about the different tracks and possibly at a later. Like, man, like that's all amazing, and just the fact that you enjoy it, and just the fact that it took you outside yourself during a dark period, and hopefully when you have or hopefully it's not only associated with that, and when you're having a good time you'll want to throw it on too, you feel me? And
yeah, no, it is like that too.
there's
Like
something
it's
to
not.
smoke too, you feel me?
Yeah, it's like that.
And I
It's
don't even smoke.
yeah, yeah. It's like that. It's just like it's saying what you need to hear, but at the same time making you feel good. Like
Right.
it's not like depressing. You're not like tearing up, and you know what I mean. And not that some of the shit you're saying is not sad, because it definitely
Yeah,
is.
you might tear up occasionally, but you
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
me?
for
Like
sure. Like it hits every emotion, and
I've
that's a
heard
fact.
of the fact that a couple people told me they were brought to tears by it, and that it's their favorite album and shit. Like I can't ask for anything more. And like we're like I want people to just I want it to be like it's a soundtrack to my life. It could be the soundtrack to anyone's life that wants to indulge and relates to it. So that's
Yeah,
this is me. This is me having a conversation with y'all. That's it.
yeah, definitely. And I definitely would. We can even, do talk about this again when the official after the official release.
Word.
um because this is something that I feel like needs to be heard, and it's not even, you know first of all, this man has gone through hurdles and obstacles, some of the toughest that people will go through in life, and this is where he's at with it now. So, and I've watched this roller coaster for like 11 years now, and it's crazy how everything has turned out, and um I'm just excited for everything else. I kind of forget what I was saying, but I'm
No,
just
I appreciate it. It's crazy because before, like I said, I was finishing up the Athena record, and that was going to be the end of the album before I went into treatment. And when I was in treatment, besides my fiance and getting back home to her and a few of my friends and shit, like all I was thinking about was this album. It was like
yeah,
the main guiding force in my recovery, and I was telling everyone there about it, and was just so I had tunnel vision, obsessed about it, and it wound up coming out the day I got 1 year sober. And it's crazy. It like was supposed to come out way sooner, but then like that is there's no sooner moment that like this is when God wanted it to come out. And then the fact that it's having the impact it is on people like you, it's like there's obviously a greater purpose for it. And I have to just
yeah,
feel gratitude for that, and just, faith that there's a plan for it and there's a plan for me.
Yeah, it's special. It's definitely special. And hearing you talk about it now, when I go after hearing all of this, when I go listen to this album again,
Word is gonna add something.
it's gonna hit different, you know. I'm excited for that. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna be doing when I go back in the house. So
It's
yo,
lit, baby.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, so everybody go cop the album right now on Bandcamp. And then what'd you say the official release day was?
26.
The 26th. Okay, so if people want to wait, I guess you can, but you're missing out if you wait.
Yeah,
So
you could even you could even listen to it right now on Bandcamp without even buying it. You could
yeah,
listen to the whole thing, but hey, if you got a little something tucked for a rainy day, your stimulus money, whatever, you feel me?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yep,
support a young player on the come up, baby. Easy
yeah,
call.
I listened to it the first day for free. Oh no, the first I copped it early today.
Oh,
So
my man.
yeah, I meant to do it yesterday, but I was busy. But
No, you good. You good.
yeah, I had to do it. So but yeah, everybody go get that and be a part of this special fucking album, because that's exactly what it is. And we got to give people their flowers while they're here, because you just never know, man. You just never know.
Never know. This could have been a posthumous conversation. You could have been talking about me, and who
Right?
knows if the record even would have seen the light of day. I'd like to think that my people would have got it out there, but it wouldn't have been quite the same. And
Yeah.
obviously, being that it was something that I wanted to represent me after I was gone, and now it could be something that I could be proud and a benchmark in my life moving forward. So when I'm grateful to be alive,
Yeah.
I'm grateful to God, to my family, to my fiance, to everybody that played a part in this coming to fruition. I love each and every one of y'all, and all the supporters, all the people making it make sense. I love you, dog. I appreciate everybody. So thank you so much.
Likewise, bro. And for anybody who does get the album and relates to it, and I hope it helps you, and I know everybody's gonna enjoy it. And I just want to say, um it's so great to see you in such a good space, and it really shows on this album. And I'm just very happy for you. And
Could
yeah,
could
so
I get a Lush One style outro from you?
a Lush One style outro.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if I can freestyle one right quick. um yeah, we got one of the illest West Coast spitters
Mhm.
ever to grace this planet. The fucking I can't do it. I can't do it, Lush. That's why you're the greatest host. That's why I tried it in the beginning with the intro, but yo, you literally are the human embodiment of electrifying energy,
Hey,
and especially positive energy these days. And you just, you're the greatest. What can
I'll
I
take
say?
it. I'll take it. You
There,
feel me?
there's
I'll
not
take
much
it.
more I can say other than that. And I've been a fan for a very, very, very long time. You know that. And that I maybe that's why this album's so special to me. But
Mhm.
everybody's going to like this album no matter what. And you've been an inspiration to me, and I'm sure to a lot of people. And yeah, man, anybody else who gets inspired by this album, yeah, just go cop it. That's all I can say.
You a
um
trill one, player.
Yo, you're the GOAT, bro. You're the GOAT. So yeah, that's Lush One. Lush motherfucking 1 year sober. The
I'm
it's
positive
lit.
energy because you are what you eat. You feel me? I got a bad one with your legs wrapped around my neck. So you know what it is, baby. Period.
yo, yo. It's lit. Yo, Lush, I'm so happy for you, man, again. And we'll definitely be talking soon. Go cop that fucking album, everybody. Yeah, so that's it. Anything you want to plug or say before we get out
Much
of
love.
here?
I appreciate all y'all. You feel me? Shouts to my boy M Freezy. You feel me? All damn day, doing the most out here,
That's
east to
what's up.
west. You feel me? You know how we
That's
coming,
what's up.
baby.
That's what's up. Yo, I appreciate you, Lush. I appreciate your time, brother.
Yep. And we
And
out.
we'll definitely be talking soon.
Dope. Good.